Shavua Tov, good morning. I'm on the way to Shul on Sunday morning, and this week we're going to celebrate the joyous holiday of Purim. And I'm reminded of a verse from the Megillah that we actually recite every Saturday night at Havdalah, and we just recited it last night. After we raise our hands to the candle to see the light, and all of us join out together in the Havdalah and say, La Yehudim, Hosa Ora v'Simcha v'Sasim v'Yikar, that in the time of the story of Purim, to the Jewish people there was Ora, light, Simcha, joy, Sason, rejoicing, v'Yikar, and honor. And this is a verse from the Megillah celebrating the victory of the Jews over Haman, and we recite it every Saturday night in the Havdalah, right before we recite the blessings on the spices and the candles, and ultimately on the wine. And the question is, why is this verse inserted in the Havdalah from the Purim story every Saturday night? Now, the rabbis in the Midrash, in the Talmud, say that these four terms are actually code words, and they actually refer to something else. Ora zu Torah, our rabbis say. Ora, that to the Jewish people there was light, really means the light of Torah. V'simcha, happiness, is the happiness of Yom Tov, the holidays, the celebration of the Jewish holidays. V'sason, rejoicing and gladness, this refers to the mitzvah of circumcision. And v'yikar, honor and prestige, refers to the mitzvah of tefillin. That these four words are actually referring to four commandments: Shabbos, Yom Tov, holidays, and then you have the mitzvah of Brit Milah and the mitzvah of tefillin. And the Sfas Emes asks, if the Torah is really referring to these other four elements, then now that the Jews were victorious over Haman, they were able to resume celebrating these four commandments. Why doesn't it say that to the Jewish people there was Shabbos, there was the holidays, there was Brit Milah, and there was Tefillin? Why codify it or conceal it in these other terms of light, happiness, joy, and honor? And he gives a beautiful answer to the Sfas Emes. He says that the Jewish people actually fulfilled all these mitzvahs secretly, even during the times of Haman. But because they were under such duress and distress, they did it without joy, without happiness, without gladness, without a sense of pride and honor. But after they experienced the victory over Haman and they saw God's miraculous hand in intervening through the intervention of Esther to save the Jews, they were so overjoyed and they felt so inspired and connected to God that now they fulfilled the same commandments, but they did it not just perfunctory and by rote, but they did it with feeling. They did the mitzvah of studying Torah with a sense of light. They performed the mitzvah of Shabbos with joy, and Yom Tov and holidays with gladness, and circumcision and tefillin with honor and pride. And this is true in all of our lives. Sometimes we do things without any internal feeling. We just go through the motions, as they say. But when we feel God's loving embrace in our lives, when we feel joy, then we feel inspired, we feel uplifted. And now we do those same commandments, but we do it with a new sense of vigor, of joy, of celebration, of inward passion and feeling and direction. And this week we're celebrating Purim. We all put on our masks last year for Purim, and we haven't taken it off until this year. But finally we're starting to feel like the numbers are going down. The death toll is dropping. People are getting vaccinated. Life is slowly resuming. There's hope, there's optimism. And we feel a sense of gratitude to Hashem that we've all survived this, thank God. And that has to not only make us happy, but has to infuse our observance of Torah mitzvahs. And when we go put on our tefillin like I'm going to do now in Shul for Shachris, it shouldn't just be, okay, I'm a Jew, I put on tefillin. I should feel the pride, the joy of being able to perform this mitzvah. Of course, the story of Haman was not just a story that happened thousands of years ago. Throughout the ages, there have been many Hamans who tried to destroy the Jewish people. And in our generation, of course, Hitler, may his name be erased, may his memory be cursed, annihilated, killed, murdered 6 million of our brothers and sisters, including 1.5 million innocent children. And we are very fortunate to have many survivors in the world today who have done great things. And one of them is the CEO of Pfizer, the first vaccine to come onto the market. and his name is Dr. Albert Bourla, and he is a child of Holocaust survivors from Salonika, Greece. Salonika, Greece had 50,000 Jews before the Nazi invasion, and only 2,000 survived. And Dr. Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, his parents were one of the 2,000 Jews who survived the World War II and the Holocaust. And he never told a story about his parents until this past month. On January 28th, it was International Holocaust Memorial Day, and he spoke on a joint memorial between Arab countries like Morocco and United Arab Emirates for the first time, who held a joint memorial together with Israel and with Jews from Israel and around the world. And he told a story for the first time, and the story he told was about his father and his mother. He said his father, they were put into the ghetto in Salonika, Greece, cramped in, all the Jews, and they were only allowed to go out on special occasions to buy food. And they had to wear their yellow star in order to go out and buy food. And he tells the story that his father had gone out with his father, meaning his grandfather took his father and his uncle to go get some food from outside of the ghetto. When they came back to the ghetto, they saw that the Nazis had surrounded the ghetto, and they were rounding up the Jews to deport them to Auschwitz, to the train stations to take them off to the concentration camps. He said his grandfather, his name was Abraham Bourla, said to his two older sons, which was Albert's father and uncle, "You must run and hide. I have to go back in," because his wife Rachel and their two younger children were inside the ghetto. He said his father and his uncle ran off and hid and managed to survive the Holocaust in hiding. However, he said his grandfather Abraham went back to be with his wife and two younger children. All of them were deported to Auschwitz, never to be seen again. His mother, he said, was also living in Salonika, Greece, and his mother would stay in hiding 24 hours a day. One time she had to go out, and of course she was captured by the Nazis and taken to the local prison. And he said that his mother was in prison, and they were rounding up Jews to take them off to their deaths. So his mother had a sister who was married to a Greek man, non-Jewish, who went to the very high Nazi officer and bribed him to pay for the ransom of his sister-in-law, which was Albert's mother. And he said that his aunt was very concerned that the Nazi official would not keep his word. So she would stand outside the prison and watch. And one day she sees the way her sister, which was Albert's mother, is being loaded onto a truck with other Jewish prisoners, and he knew they were being sent to their death. And so she ran to her sister, who ran to her husband, who went to the Nazi official and demanded that she be let go because he had paid a high ransom bribe for her. And at that point, Albert said his mother was taken out to a field, and all the Jews were forced to dig a big pit, and they were lined up in front of this pit to be shot into the pit, when suddenly a Nazi officer in a motorcycle pulled up and went right over to the Nazi SS men who were about to shoot these Jews, and he handed them a bunch of papers, and the Nazi called his mother out of the line, and his mother, Dr. Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer's mother, went into the Nazis' motor car, into his motorcycle, and drove away. And he said his mother told a story that as she drove away in a cloud of dust, in the background she heard the firing of the machine guns, shooting all those innocent Jews into the pit. That's the story of Dr. Albert Bourla's mother and father's survival. Only 2 out of 50,000 Jews who survived the Holocaust from Salonika, Greece. And he went on to say that his mother and father met after the war and raised him and his siblings. And he said his parents had one dream that they had for him as a child. They said, "We want you to grow up to marry a nice Jewish girl and to become a scientist." And he said, "Thank God I lived to show my parents that I accomplished both goals." And my parents were able to witness me marry a Jewish girl and become a scientist. Well, perhaps they didn't know what a scientist he would become, that his company, Pfizer, would produce the vaccine that will save millions and millions of lives. That's the story of the Jewish people. We recognize that we are here not by chance, but by fate. God chose for us to be here. That's the only explanation for our existence. And we celebrate that existence, and we show gratitude to God. and we make the most of our lives, and we infuse it with meaning, with feeling, with passion, with joy, with love, just like the Jews did after the miracle of Purim. So I'm going to go put on my tefillin and remember that the Jewish people in the time of Purim put on their tefillin every day with renewed joy and honor after they experienced Hashem's miracles. We are fortunate to now being able to see the way this pandemic is receding. Let us utilize this newfound freedom and good health to utilize it in a way that will increase our joy and our happiness and our passion and our love in the service of God and our fellow man. Have a wonderful week and happy Purim.